Hello again and welcome. Today we're going to take a look at an upgrade that I think that a lot of you are looking at and contemplating, and that is the upgrade to Callmanager 12.5. In this particular instance, we're going to go from 11.5 to 12.5. And we're going to take a look at all the steps along the way and see what needs to be done. Now, I've got right here in a note all of the steps that need to be done prior to, during, and after the upgrade. So we're going to start going through them one by one. And again, this is a lab environment. So I will discuss some of the things that need to take place for a production environment versus a lab environment, and what kind of differences there might be. Okay, so first and foremost, a couple of things about the upgrade to 12.5. This is a pretty major upgrade. There is a few things that are quite different in 12.5 versus 11.5. One of those things is that the operating system is now CentOS. And so it was Red Hat Linux. It has been Red Hat Linux ever since version 5 came out, the very first Linux version of Callmanager. And now they have moved on and moved to CentOS. And so one of the things that needs to take place is a complete reinstall of the operating system. Okay, and so during the upgrade, there are probably, I think there are 2 reboots that take place during the upgrade. And for that reason, I suggest that you do it on the VMware console in the CLI and the console portion, rather than doing this on the GUI. And I'll talk about that once we get there. Other changes are smart licensing. We're going to talk about that right off, and some of the things that we need to do there. And it's a much larger upgrade in that you will need to have more free space. And again, we're going to talk about that when we talk about the pre-upgrade check that we need to do. Okay, so first and foremost, we need to order the upgrade via the Cisco Entitlements webpage. Now that used to be what was called the PUT tool or the product upgrade tool, but now they've created a new one. It's been there for a couple of years now. It's called the Cisco Entitlement. So let's go ahead and take a look at that page. Now I'll show you how I got here. First of all, you go to software.cisco.com. Okay, now there's a few things in this page that we're going to be looking at. Right now, we're going to look at the Cisco Entitlements right here. Okay, we're going to take a look later on at the traditional licensing, and we're also going to be looking at the smart software licensing. Okay, all of those we need to take a look at for this particular upgrade. So first, we're going to look at where it says version upgrade using Cisco Entitlements. Okay, and you go ahead and click on your particular company. And in here, what you're going to see is you're going to see the different devices that you have here, the different servers. So there's Callmanager, there's Contact Center, there is, in this particular, for this particular customer, there's Cube, there's a tenant console, there's voice messaging, which is Unity Connection. So everything that you're looking for as far as your upgrade. Now, depending on what your licenses are, you may see something different. If you have an earlier version, say 10.5, then you're going to see that in this list. Okay, and so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to choose the one that is is the version that you're going to. Okay, and that is the 12.5 here. You're going to put in your license count, proceed to order. What that's going to do again is it's going to submit that in. You will, in a couple of days, get an email indicating that the order has gone through, and you will get a link in there for the Cisco e-delivery. And in there, once you click on that, you'll be able to go in, you log in, and it's going to have all of the software that you will need for the upgrade. It will include the Callmanager upgrade, as well as the bootable for the Callmanager install. It will have the IM and presence upgrade, as well as the bootable for that. It will have a recovery ISO and such things as that. If you do it for contact center, again, it will have the information for that. Unity connection, it will have the upgrade images for that. Okay, but those all have to be done separately. Okay. So once that is done, everything will be ready for the license upgrade and for the conversion to smart licenses. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at our list here. Next, we're going to take a look at the Prime License Manager, which is the license solution for 11.5 and below. And we're going to take a look at those licenses and then see what we need to do about converting those licenses. Okay, so we're going to take a look at our 11.5 server. Okay, we have Callmanager, but we want to take a look at the Prime License Manager. So let's take a look at that. We're going to log in. Now, again, this is a lab environment. I don't have any phones. I don't have any licenses. Okay, but I'm just trying to get you an understanding of what needs to be done. You would see your license usage in here and how many phones you have, how many users you have, and such things as that. What you're going to want to do is take a screenshot of that. This is for if later on, for some reason, you have a problem with the conversion of the smart licensing, you can then open a ticket with Cisco licensing and be able to explain to them, this is what we had, and they'll be able to handle it manually, and they'll upgrade or insert your licenses into your smart license account based on what you have. Okay. Again, you're going to want to go to usage here, and you're going to want to take a screenshot of that one. Again, I don't have the licenses in here, but that's what you want to do. Okay. And then the final thing that you want to do prior to the upgrade is you want to go to fulfillment, and you want to go to other fulfillment options, and you want to go to generate license request. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to give you this token. Okay, and you want to save that, put that into a notepad or something like that. Again, Cisco licensing would ask for that, and that's going to give them certain information. That's encrypted information that tells them what licenses you actually have, and they will be able to run with that. Okay, so that's pretty much it there. The next thing you want to look at is, we'll go back to Software Central. Okay, and we're going to take a look at traditional licensing. Okay, when we look at traditional licensing, okay, what you're going to see in here is you're going to see several licenses in here. Okay, And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want, these are licenses that have been, if they're on your account, that have been fulfilled already, usually, and that you will you'll be able to use that to convert those licenses to smart licenses. Okay, and what you're looking for is the license specifically for cool license, the Cisco Unified Workplace license. And so those are the licenses that you're looking for. Okay, and when you find those, what you're going to be doing is you're going to click on this right arrow and you're going to go to convert to smart licensing. Okay, that's going to take you through a couple of steps that you will need to do. It'll ask you for your smart license account. You will put that in, and then those licenses will get converted over into smart licenses. Okay, once that is done, then going back to Software Central, you're going to go to Smart Software Licensing. Okay, and in your Smart Software Licensing, if everything went okay with the conversion of your licenses, you're going to click on Inventory and you're going to click on Licenses. And in there, you will see your licenses. You will see the licenses that you have converted. And once that is done, your upgrade is now ready to be completed, and we will be able to register the servers with the Cisco Smart Licensing, and it will be taken care of and everything will run smoothly. Okay? So that's the smart licensing, the Lights Prime License Manager, the My Cisco Entitlements. That's everything like that in a nutshell. And so next we're going to move on and take a look at what is the next step and what needs to be taken care of prior to upgrading your 12.5 Callmanager server. All right. So our next is a particular file that Cisco has for as you can see, it's the pre-upgrade check. What this file is going to do is it's going to go through the server, it's going to check on disk space, it's going to check for NTP, it's going to check for any network related errors, and anything. It's going to check some of the hardware and RAM and NIC, and make sure that everything is correct for this upgrade to take place. Okay, so we're going to find out where we're going to need that, and there's actually 3 files that we're going to need. So we're going to go to cisco.com, and you're going to need to log in, and you're going to go to software downloads. I always just put in Callmanager in here, and it comes up with Cisco Unified Communications Manager, which is the actual current name. We're going to choose 12.5, and we're going to go to Utilities. Okay, in here there are several files having to do with bugs and things like that. One of the files that we're looking for is right here. Okay, it is the upgrade readiness COP file. Okay, the file name is ciscocm.pre-upgrade check. Okay, you're going to want to download that. You're also going to want to download the one above it, which is the post-upgrade check. We do that after the upgrade. Okay, and then there's one more file that you want to download, and it is the free common space. Now, in a production environment, most likely you're going to use that. What happens in a production environment? There are many, many logs that are taken in the server, and that will take up a lot of space. As I said, this upgrade takes a lot of space and needs a lot of space. And so what this common space COP file will do is it will go through and delete all of the log files and to free up as much space as it can possibly do. Okay, so you're going to want to download that one. I've already got those downloaded. And so we're going to go ahead and start with the pre-upgrade check and see what information that it gives us, and then we'll move on to see if we need to do the free common space or what we need to do. So we'll move on from there. Okay, so since this is a COP file, we can't really mount it to the DVD unless you actually put that COP file onto an ISO image, which I've done that before. But the way we're going to go ahead and do this is we're going to do it through SFTP. Now you can do that through an SFTP server that you have. So those COP files, you'll have to put those onto that SFTP server. You can get a free SFTP software from your PC or Mac that you can use for that. But what I usually do is I go ahead and upload it to the data store on the UCS, on the ESXi. And from there, you can actually use that as your SFTP server. And so I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that. So first of all, to make sure that this will work, you have to enable SSH. So you're going to have to go to your host. You go to Services and enable Secure Shell. Okay. So next, we need to figure out, okay, well, you know, what is the path that we need to go? So if we go ahead and go to Callmanager, we go to our Callmanager, and we're going to log into the OS administration. So we click on there and we go to OS administration. We're going to go ahead and log in. Okay. Now we're going to go to software upgrades and install/upgrade. And in here, it's going to ask us for a few things. Okay. So we're going to go to remote file system. And in here, we need to put the directory. That's where we need to put the path. Okay. My particular server is with this IP address. Okay. We're going to put in our username. Okay. And our password. Okay. Now and it's SFTP. Now we need to know what that path is. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to find it. Okay. So what we're going to do, we already enabled SSH. So I'm going to SSH into that server. Okay. And now we're going to look at where's the path. Okay. First of all, the data store I know is in VMFS. So I'm going to go to VMFS. Okay. And so we'll go ahead and put that here. VMFS. We'll take a look where we are now. Volumes. Okay. And I think the next one is going to be data store 1. So right there, data store 1. Right there. And then we need to put the folder that we uploaded those COP files into. In this case, I uploaded them to the ISO directory. Okay, so that's it. I think we have that correct. We're going to go ahead and click on Next, and it's going to reach out and find the files that it can use for an installation or upgrade. We'll give this a minute so that it can find those images. Shouldn't take too long. And there we go. Okay. The ones that cannot be used are going to be put in here. And then the ones that can be used are going to be in this drop down. Okay. So the one we're looking at right now is the pre-upgrade check. Okay. So we're going to select that and we're going to click on next. And now what it does is it then takes that, it downloads that from the SFTP server, getting ready for it to run. Okay, this is not a large file, so it's not going to take very long. And there we go. Okay, and at this point, we're going to go ahead and click on next. Okay, and it's going to go ahead and run through this. And you can watch on the installation log. Now this will take 1 to 2 minutes to complete, and at the end it will give us a summary of what we're going to look at. And when that's finished, I'll go through what each of the things are that it went ahead and checked. Okay, so I went ahead and fast forwarded that so that you wouldn't have to wait. It took about, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes. If we just take a look at the summary here, we take a look, total test run 14, total test pass 10. There were 4 warnings and there were 0 failures. That's what you're going for. You're going for the 0 failures. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what these tests are. Okay, first of all, it took a look at the network adapter type. Okay, so if we take a look at this server, our network adapter type, looks like it doesn't say it here. Let's take a look at when we edit. Oh, I'm looking at the host. I apologize. Take a look here, and we'll take a look at our network adapter type in the edit screen. Okay, and we are VMX-Net 3. Now, I have done several upgrades in which the original install was done on a version 9 OVA, and so the VMX, the adapter type was flexible or something to that of that sort. And so one of the things that you're going to need to do, and I'll talk about this and other things that you will need to do, such as the RAM and the hard disk, is you need to make sure that you're on VMX-Net 3. And that's one of the things that the pre-upgrade check is supposed to check. Okay, and so we're good there. Okay, we take a look at our database status. Okay, that's our replication. Okay, it's going to check and make sure that everything is good between your servers in your cluster. Okay, this particular server, it's only a single server, so there's no database replication here. Okay, next it's going to take a look at the file system checks. Okay, it's going to say 3 different upgrade paths: 1 to 11.5, 1 to 12.0, and 1 to 12.5. Okay, and it's going to see how much space you have versus how much is required. Okay, now in this particular case, I didn't have any problem. Okay, and that's because I haven't installed any phones. I don't have any. This hasn't been running for very long. I don't have any logs, and so there isn't anything to really take up space. Okay. But in most production environments, every single upgrade that I have done, I have had a failure right here, indicating that there is not enough space to be able to do this upgrade. Okay, So there's a couple of things that we need to do, and I'll go over that in just a second. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look. It takes a look at the Plm status. Okay. It sees that mine is a lab environment. It sees that it's in demo state. Okay. So it's going to look and see what your status is as far as your licenses and make sure that you are not out of compliance. Okay. Then what you're going to look at is it takes a look at the security password length. Okay. It takes a look at if there are any deprecated phone models for 12.5. It takes a look at your network status, NTP, DNS, anything like that. Okay. Make sure that the network connectivity is good. Okay. It takes a look at your DRS backup status. I don't have any backup configured, so it gave me a warning. Okay. And you are going to want to have a backup just in case something goes wrong with the upgrade, obviously. So, okay. And test the database sanity. Okay. So everything passed here. It looks at how many registered phones, how many unregistered phones, has what COPS files are installed, and if there's going to be any problem with those. I don't have any right now. It takes a look at your VMware tools and make sure that there is. Now we're going to need to upgrade after we do the upgrade, and so we'll take a look at that when that time comes. Okay. And then just anything that has smart licensing requires you to have a smart license account. You see that in almost every single one. Okay. So that's it. So our next step at this point is to, if you have a problem with the disk space, okay, you're going to need to take a look at a few things. One of those I put in here is the free common space. Okay, you run that just the same as you do for this one, and it will go through and delete logs and make sure that you are that it'll get the space down. And now a little bit of warning here is I have found at times that even after running the common free space, the free common space COP file, that there is still not enough space to be able to run the upgrade. Usually it's within a couple of gigabytes. Okay. So if that is the case, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go back to your CM administration and log in. And you're going to want to go to device settings, and firmware load information. Okay. What this is going to do is it's going to tell you what firmware you are actually using on your system. So what phones you're using. In this case, I'm not using any. I don't have any phones. Okay. But it's also going to give you the option to delete the firmware that you're not using. Okay. And so you'll be able to then free up some space from that firmware that you're not using. Okay. So for example, you may not have any 3905s. Okay. You may not have any of the 3900s. Okay. You will safely be able to delete those files. Okay. Any of the ones that 6900s, maybe you don't have any of those. Maybe you're all on 8800s. You'll be able to keep those and then delete the ones that you don't have. Cisco CS, you're not going to need that. Okay, you can delete that. Okay, if you don't have any of the telepresence units, you can delete all of those, okay? So any of those that you're not going to need, you can delete those to free up just that little bit more of space to be able to do the upgrade, okay? Now, once you know that you have enough space, next we're going to want to take a look at our hardware, okay? What our virtual CPUs are, what the memory is, what the hard disk is, what the network adapter type is, okay? The reason why we're looking at that is we need to make sure that it's going to match the OVA template for the 12.5. So let's take a look at CUCM virtualization. Okay, so take a look at this. These are the different ones that we have, okay? So in this case, we installed 11.5 at the 7,500 user mark, okay? That one has 2 virtual CPUs. It has 8 gigs of RAM. It has 110 gigs of hard drive space, okay? So if we take a look at this, that's exactly what we have. So we're gonna be fine, okay? However, I have run into issues where we only have 1 virtual CPU because it was a much earlier version, or the memory is 6 gigs of RAM and needs to be 8, or the hard disk is 80 gigs and it needs to be 110. So there's a couple of different aspects here that we need to look at, okay? In the case that there is a hard disk that is only at 80 and it needs to be 110, okay? What you can do is you can go ahead and increase that to the 110 that you need, do a reboot, and it will automatically, the disk will automatically expand and you will be ready to go, okay? Memory obviously has to be done when you've shut down. Virtual CPU, the same, has to be done when you've shut down, okay? Network adapter type. If you have a different network adapter type, what you need to do is you need to actually remove the network adapter, which you have to do when it's shut down, add a new one with the correct adapter type, okay? Setting it to the correct network and everything, okay? So that's what you would have to do. Now I've run into an issue where this was on it was either on CCX or emergency responder. I remember there was one where what we had to do was there were 2 hard drives because the earlier version of the virtualization called for 2 hard drives, okay? Now, in that case, you can't delete a hard drive. You just can't do that. And so what we needed to do is we needed to create a new VM to do that, okay? With only a single hard drive. And we needed to do a backup and a restore. And then once it was restored on the new template, then we could go ahead and upgrade to 12.5 to get it to the right, to get everything correct, okay? A little bit longer process, but that's what you needed to do. So if you run into that, that's the path there that you need to take, okay? So in our case, we're not going to need to do anything to change any hardware. So we're okay there. However, with each and every upgrade that I do, my recommendation is to do a reboot. If you don't have to change any hardware, fine, still do a reboot, okay? You've freed up space. Now what you want to do is do a reboot of the whole cluster. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that, okay? So the first way is through the GUI. Go to the OS administration, log in. You go to settings, version, and there's restart and shutdown. You're going to want to go ahead and do restart. Okay. Another way to do this is through SSH. You can SSH into the CLI, and I'll go ahead and show that to you. So SSH admin at, we'll give our IP address. Okay. We'll wait for that to come up. And now we go to Utils system restart. Okay. It'll ask us if we're sure, yes. And it will go through the restart. Okay. The third way of doing it is very similar to the SSH, is just doing it in the console. So you can come up here, you can go into the console, and it gives us the same login as SSH, and it's the same command. Okay. Now pretty soon we're going to see, because of the restart that we just initiated, on this console we're going to see that start to come up. Okay. And so it will then go ahead and reboot. I'm not going to make you wait through that, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through that, and I'll pick you up as soon as that's done. Okay, the reboot is finished, and we'll go ahead and log into the console, because that's where we're going to be next. So let's take a look at our steps and see how we've been doing. So we've gone through all the licensing, we've gone through the pre-upgrade check and the common space. Okay, we have, and if needed, deleted the firmware to free up more space. We've verified the hard drive, our RAM and NIC, to make sure that it matches the current template. Okay, we have done a shutdown in case we need to make any of those changes. And if no changes are made, then we just did a reboot. Okay, so we just finished that. Okay, now let's talk about the order of upgrades in a cluster. Okay, so when you're talking about a Callmanager cluster, you may have just a publisher and subscriber. Okay, you may have just a publisher. In this case, we just have a publisher. You may have a publisher and 3 subscribers. Okay, you also may have an IM and presence server, in which case you have a pub at least, or maybe a pub and sub of the IMMP, which is considered part of the cluster, even though they have their own publisher and subscriber. Okay, so a few things to talk about here. One is the Callmanager publisher has to be done first before any subscriber or before the IMMP publisher can be done. Okay, so we need to do the Callmanager publisher first, and it can either do the switch version and be on 12.5, or it can still be on the inactive partition, and we haven't done a switch version yet. The upgrade for the subscriber and for the IMMP will check to make sure that it is either on the active partition or the inactive partition. Okay. And so first we'll do the Callmanager publisher, then we'll be able to do the subscribers and the IMMP publisher. Okay. The IMMP subscriber will have to wait until the IMMP publisher is done. Okay. And so you can do all of the subscribers at the same time. If you have 3 subscribers, you can do all of them. Okay. Little caveat there is that if you want as little downtime as possible, then you need to make sure to do those subscribers one at a time, so that those phones will, when you start that first subscriber that those phones are registered to, they're going to fail over to the other subscriber. Okay, your calls will still be able to work at that point, okay? Then you're gonna wanna do the second subscriber and third, however many you have at that point, so that they can then fall back to another subscriber once it's done, okay? Once you're complete then with call managers, IMMP, publisher, and subscriber, if you have not done the switch version, you can do the switch version in turn at that point. Publisher first, then the subscribers. The publisher has to be all the way up and ready to take before you can do the switch version on these subscribers, because the subscriber will first reach out to the publisher and make sure that it is on 12.5 before you can do that switch version. Okay, and so that's the order that we need to take this upgrade if you have more than one node. In this particular case, we just have the one node, so that's all we're going to be doing. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual upgrade. Now, I suggest to do the upgrade in the VMware console, in the ESXi console. Now, the reason for that is because if you try to do it as we did the COP files, you're going to come to a place where the server has to reboot, okay? At that point, you lose connection to your GUI and it's gone, okay? At that point, you will have to SSH into the CLI and just check on the upgrade logs to verify if it's complete. And that is a headache, okay? So same thing if you go into the SSH and you initiate the upgrade there. It's going to go through a reboot in which you will lose your connection just like it did here, okay? And so it's not connected anymore, okay? So what you then need to, so the best way to handle it is to go into the console of your server through the ESXi, which it will always be there, okay? One of the first things it does is it goes through a reboot. And once that reboot, then it will continue and you'll still see it in your console. So you'll be able to tell when the upgrade is complete. So little bit of advice on some gotchas that you could run into that way. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the actual upgrade. Now, one of the things that we need to look at is we need to take a look at this server, and we need to mount the upgrade image onto the DVD drive. Okay, so this is already set for 11.5 right now. That's not what we're doing, so we need to change it to a 12.5 image. Now I have currently the bootable image on here, and this can be done on either with the bootable or with the image that you download from Cisco.com. Okay, we talked about the My Cisco Entitlements and how when you put in that order, they're going to send you the e-delivery, and it will have all of those files. Okay, so you can take those, you can upload those to the data store. Additionally, if you take a look at Cisco.com, I'll show you where you can also download the upgrade ISO. So I'll put in Callmanager 12.5, and we're going to be looking at updates. Here is the latest version. 14.900 is the latest. That is SU4. The version that I have on here is, I think, SU2 or 3, one of those. Either one can work. If you want to get the latest and for some reason the e-delivery did not give you the latest, which it should, then you can come here and you can download the latest. I always recommend you do export restricted. That gives you the full encryption capabilities. However, if your install was to the export unrestricted and didn't have those, you have to stay with that as far as your upgrade. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, we're going to go ahead and mount that. We're going to save. Okay, so this time we're not going to do an SFTP on this because this is a 5 gig file, and so it will take a while for that to run. And depending on if you wanted to do the upgrade through SFTP, if you need to, it depends on the speed of your network and all that, on how fast that's going to come through. So I've seen ones that were very fast. I've seen ones that were very, very slow. And so my recommendation is to do this through mount it onto your DVD, upload it to the data store, mount it to your DVD, so that you can, so that it is much faster. So now we're going to look at Utils system upgrade initiate. That's the command to go ahead and start the upgrade. It's going to ask us for a couple of things here. Notice it says do not close this window without canceling the upgrade. Okay, so it asks us, what are we going to do? We're going to do SFTP, FTP, or a local DVD. I just got finished telling you about that. We're going to do a local DVD. Okay, do we want to set an SMTP host server? This is if there is a issue and we want an email that will tell us if there's a problem. I'm not going to do that. That is optional. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter there. Now it's checking for that mounted DVD. It's going to make sure that that image is valid for this upgrade. All right, so we actually ran into a problem here, and I think this is good so that I can show you. We were unable to mount the file system, okay? There was something wrong with that ISO. It's either corrupt or there's something wrong with it. I don't know what. So I'm actually going to go ahead and stop the video, come back to you when I've figured this out, and I'm probably going to get a different image and try this again. Okay, I'm not sure why, but for some reason I was not able to mount the local drive. Again, not sure why, but I'm not going to take much time in troubleshooting this. So, so what I decided to do is just go ahead and do it through SFTP. And I know I just told you that I try not to do that, but in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I chose step one. Again, I'm doing it from the ESXi data store. And so I put in that directory, the server with root and the password, and it came up and found everything that it can do as far as installation or upgrade. And it came up with our 12.5 image. So I'm going to go ahead and press 1. It's going to start accessing the file, and then it's going to start downloading the file. Again, like I said, that's going to take a little while. Shouldn't be too much because this is on the same network, and my internal network should be pretty fast. It looks like it's going pretty fast. So it's going to be about 5 gigs. Again, I'll go ahead and pause that until it's fully downloaded and catch it back up once it's done. All right, so it is now downloaded, and we're waiting for the next step here, which I believe it will ask us if we want to continue on the upgrade. Okay, so the next part that it asks for is, do we want to switch the version? Uh, in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and say no. What that's going to do is it's going to upgrade the inactive partition, and at the end, it will stay on the 11.5 version, uh, and then we'll be able to then do the switch version and manually. And so go ahead and hit no. Okay, it asks us if we want to start. Let's go ahead and start. And there it goes. Okay, most of what you're going to see is lots of lines going of code here going up. At one point, it checks the disk space, make sure that everything is good there. Everything that it checked before, as far as disk space, network, and all that, it's going to go through that in here. I have had times where this has stopped when it has gotten to the disk space check because there wasn't enough disk space. So that's one thing. But pretty soon, what it's going to do is right off, it's going to go through a reboot, and then it will come up. A lot of the time, it's going to have just lines going up like this. Other times, it will bring up a little graphic, just like an install, where it's got the blue background and it's got the red bars going across, and so it will show you that for a time. Once it's finished, then it will just come up with the login to the console. Again, it'll take a while, a few minutes for all the services to come up, but then once those are up, then you should be able to log in and log into the GUI, and everything should be good. Okay. And then we'll look at doing the switch version. So I'm going to go ahead and again stop the video now and fast forward to when it's complete, and see when that happens. Okay, the upgrade is finished. So we can now go ahead and log into the console. All right, and if we do a show, I believe it is version active, we should still have 11.5. Yep, and if we do a show version inactive, we'll have our 12.5. Yep, there it is. All right, and then if we go ahead and take a look at Callmanager server, not all the services are up quite yet. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the switch version. So what we're going to do there is Utils system switch version. Now remember, as far as your publishers, subscribers, if you have more than one server in the cluster, you've got to do these in turn just as much as you have to do the install, the upgrade in turn. So if you've got it all of them upgraded and you go to do your switch version, you got to do the publisher first, wait for it to be finished, booted up, then you can do your subscribers. As if you really want to switch, it says our active and inactive versions. I'll go ahead and hit yes. Now again, this is going to take a little while. It's now checking the database, copying the database over from the inactive partition, from the active partition to the inactive partition, and then it's going to make the inactive partition the active partition. Okay, so again, I will pause the video while this is happening and catch up when it's done. Okay, so the upgrade or the switch version is complete. You can now see the Cisco Unified Communications Manager 12.5.1 is there. And we can now log in. And we are ready to go. So now a couple of things that we need to look at. Now after the switch version is complete and we're done with the upgrade. The compatibility, the VM compatibility is still looking at ESXi 5.0 when we're on 6.5. So we need to look at that. And that's something that we cannot do with the virtual machine on. So we're going to have to shut down the virtual machine. So as soon as this comes up, we're going to go ahead and initiate a shutdown. The command for that is going to be Utils system shutdown. And we want to say yes. Now, this is a graceful shutdown, shuts down all the services before it finally shuts down. Okay, so as soon as that is shut down, then we'll go ahead and upgrade the compatibility and then start it up again. All right, the server is shut down, and now we've got our upgrade via compatibility. It's not grayed out. We can go ahead and click on that. We're going to tell it what we're going to make it compatible for. This particular server is 6.7 U2, so we're going to go ahead and upgrade it for that. Now, one more thing that we're going to take a look at is the settings. We're going to look at VM options and general, and we're going to take a look at this guest OS version. It was 6, Red Hat Linux 6. We're going to go ahead and change that to CentOS 8. And power it on up. Okay, as you can see, that came up relatively quickly. You'll notice that the CentOS works quite faster than the Red Hat Linux did. And so it came up, but there's a few things that it still needs to do, but it's still very quick. There are still services coming up in the background, and we will still have to wait for all the services to come up, for the web page to come up, but it's pretty quick. Okay, the web page is now up, and we're going to log in. And we can now see we are at system version 12.1. So we are good. The upgrade is complete. So now we'll take a look here. We can see our compatibility is good. We can see our VMware tools was automatically upgraded along with the compatibility and with the upgrade of the Callmanager. So, all right, so we are finished with the compatibility and the VMware tools. The last item that we need to look at is the post-upgrade check. Now, I'm also going to tell you about the licensing and what you need to do as far as the smart license is concerned. So if we go to licensing and license management, we can see that it is unregistered. What we need to do is in the software download section, the smart software, so software.cisco.com, go to smart software licensing, the inventory tab. We're going to look here. We see here there are tokens that we need to do. So if we want to do, when we want to register, we want to click on new token, we give it some information and create token. It will then create a token that we can copy, and we bring that over here and we go to register and we paste that token in here and click on register. What that's going to do is it's going to have the Callmanager reach out. Callmanager obviously has to have internet access to be able to get there. It's going to reach out to this smart software manager and register the server. They'll be able to communicate and indicate what phones and users the server has. And then as long as those licenses are in the smart software manager, everything will be in compliance and everything is good. Okay. So let's take a look at, let's go back to the OS administration. And we're going to go to the software upgrade again. And again, we're going to put the information in for the ESXi server. So we're going to choose remote file system. I'm going to give it, and that's still in there from earlier. Give it the password. And that should be good. And we get a couple other things in here that we didn't have before. One is to continue the upgrade after download, in which we don't have to click yes to get it to go or click next. And then this is for if you're doing an upgrade of a minor upgrade to Callmanager 12.5 to automatically switch the version after the upgrade. We're obviously not doing that. We're doing the COP file for the post upgrade check. So we're going to click on next. And it has found the 3 COP files that we put in there. We're going to choose the post upgrade check and next. And now it's going to go ahead and download that file, which again, shouldn't take too long, not a very large file. And you see that it automatically went to run the file. Okay, so that's a new feature in 12.5. Another feature in 12.5 is the cluster upgrade, in which you can upgrade the entire cluster, not just doing them one at a time. So Callmanager, the publisher, and subscribers, and even IM&P can all be done all at the same time from the publisher, which is a fantastic feature. So for minor upgrades in the future, you can do a cluster upgrade and that will do the whole thing. So it's very nice. Okay, so we are complete now. So we're going to take a look at what the report gives us. Here's our summary. Total tests run 13, passed 10. We did get 2 failures, and I'm going to talk about that. So let's go up to our summary here. So you went through network adapter type, cluster database, license status, network status, all those things that we went through in the pre-upgrade. Okay, everything is passing. The failures that we got are here in this enterprise parameter. So checked a couple of enterprise parameters. What I think this is I think there is a bug in this and that it's not reading those correctly. But everything is actually fine. So there's no reason to worry about this. And this is another area where we've got services and it's not finding the status. So again, I think that's a bug. So so we can disregard those, and we are, I think we are fine. So now our upgrade is complete. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that it has helped you as far as your endeavor to upgrade your Callmanager cluster. Very similar information for Unity and for CCX as far as the upgrade is concerned. If you have any questions on that, please comment below. Also, I'm going to post this on my blog, of which that will be linked below as well. So you can go to that. You can comment there as well and ask any questions. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to do more and more videos, especially for things that are more timely. And pretty soon I'm going to do a install and upgrade to Callmanager 14 as soon as it is released. So hopefully that will be a good thing for you guys to see. So again, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.